Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. Please subscribe if you haven't yet already. It is a red subscribe button. It looks like what you see on the screen right now, but it's underneath me somewhere. And if you click on that, you will be subscribed to my channel. There's also a little bell right near that. And if you click that, you'll get an alert every time I upload new content, which would be nice. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That would make me very happy. Today's video is the 9th in a series about American Horror Story Season 7 Cult. This is about Episode 7. Valerie Solanas Died for Your Sins, Scumbag. The makeup that I'm focusing on this week is primarily Charlotte Tilbury. There are other things that I'm using, but I will be using the Charlotte Tilbury Vintage Vamp palette, the Instant Look in a palette, the Natural Beauty one, the first one that came out, and Pillow Talk on my lips, things like that. It is a little bit rambly and I apologize for that. I'm just not totally clear on how I feel about this episode, but I just wanted to get something done. Thought about it a lot, I've watched it a few times and was kind of gonna think about it more and wait and do it later, but I think that I'm pretty much where I am with this episode. So if you'd like to see how I got this look and hear me talk a little bit about American Horror Story Season 7, Episode 7, please keep watching. All right, I've already moisturized and I'm going in now with my MAC Paint Pot in Painterly. And this episode was really interesting. I'm reading reviews about it and people are calling it a throwaway episode, and I'm not sure that I believe that. I'm not clear on how it fits into the canon, not clear how it fits into the rest of the season. I get the idea of the fact that what Valerie Solanas was doing was cult-like, and that what Andy Warhol was doing was cult-like, and the idea of Phoebe coming in and talking to these women in the cult, in the new cult. But I'm not clear on how it fits into kind of the rest of the season. I guess I know I'll be rewatching it all to kind of, especially to put together a timeline. I'm gonna go in with this color, it says Prime. They don't really have color names on it, but I'm gonna go in with that guy with a Sigma cream color flat brush. These aren't creams or powders, but they're very creamy. So I guess I'll start by talking about what's happening in the present, or right after the assassination attempt. And then I'll go into the flashbacks and then I'll go into the present again. So in the present, when we first see Kai and he's recovering from being shot, he won the election and it has made national news. I'm gonna flip the brush over and go in with the other color, which is Pop. I'm gonna put that in the center of my lid. So I'm actually changing brushes. I'm not getting the color payoff that I want. This is a Smith 256, one of the ones that has a little pointy thing on the end. So in the present, he's won the election. He gets a retreat from Eric Trump. Everything's just references all over the place, I guess, with this. I'm gonna go in with the Enhance color with a Sigma diffused crease brush, E38. Then we have Beverly getting off of work and meeting Bibi for the first time. And then before she actually goes to the hotel, she goes to the house. I noticed something, and in the end, I do have kind of a list of stray observations that I found. So I noticed that there was a lawn jockey on the porch of the house, and I don't know that I've ever noticed that before. It seemed like it might be a different house. I'm now going in with a darker color, and this is with a Sigma Firm Blender, E44. So that was interesting. And all of the men in the house, all the white men in the house, looking at Beverly, it's just doesn't seem like very much time has passed. I don't know how long he was in the hospital, but it doesn't seem like too much time has passed. I'm gonna go in with it's my first time using it, the Charlotte Tilbury Feline Flick. I've heard good things about it. Let's see how this works. Oh, this is nice. Very nice. Reminds me of the Tom Ford a little bit, like a very firm brush. So, yeah, it's clear that there's like a lot of alt-right stuff happening. Fascist stuff. Why am I calling it alt-right? There's all this stuff happening in the house. And then Beverly goes to see BB. And then we get, oh, and then she goes back to the butchery and she meets up with Ivy and Winter. So before we get the flashbacks, we are back with Ivy and Winter, so they're getting the whole story too. And Valerie Solanas, interesting woman. I'm filming this the week of the hashtag #MeToo trend kind of starting. And it was really interesting to hear her read all of these things in the manifesto and just say things in general that are especially relevant today. I know that there's no way that the show could be organizing these things, the releases of these things around things in the media, but it's just really strange that all of this stuff is happening right now. For foundation today, I'm gonna use the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Tint Foundation. I only have a sample, and this is in one fair pale, which probably will work on me, but I'm just gonna give it a go. So we're back in the past, and we are seeing Valerie Solanas. We've already seen her try to kill Andy Warhol. And yeah, hearing her read everything and just it's interesting because, and I see similarity between Valerie Solanas and Allie in the sense that because Valerie Solanas was in, obviously no one's ever caught the Zodiac Killer, so I don't know that it's true that Valerie Solanas's kind of followers were not the Zodiac Killer. I think we can probably safely assume that that's, not true. But if we're following her story, then she is orchestrating all of this stuff from Mattawan, where she is in prison for I guess was it criminally insane that she was? So theoretically, she would have been at Mattawan when all of this stuff was happening. But when she goes to the police in Vallejo, so some of the Zodiac crimes happened in Vallejo, California. And she goes there, and again, assuming that this is accurate, which, it's not, but assuming that it is, she's going to the police, and she is saying that she masterminded the Zodiac murders while she was in prison in Mattawan, that she didn't actually do it, but she orchestrated this big, elaborate crime that no one's even aware of. And I don't even believe her when she says it. Kind of like no one believed Allie when she was saying anything because she's crazy. I'm gonna set my under eye with the Charlotte Tilbury powder, and then I'll come back and set everything with that. Brows. Some of the other things that she says at the police department that were interesting. She says to the police officer, "You're a fool to underestimate the rage of a woman." And he says, "I've been married for 20 years. That's the last thing I'd underestimate." And she says, "I'm not your wife. You can't ignore me." And that's so loaded because it does suggest that he's been in this relationship with his wife for 20 years and has been ignoring her. Just the whole Valerie Solanas thing is very interesting because she was diagnosed as being schizophrenic, and she was violent, and she did do a lot of things that were really out there, but a lot of the things that she said were pretty accurate. So it's just weird. And it's also true that the thing that she's really, I think there are some people who are kind of looking at some of the things that she wrote with kind of a nod towards history and the possibility that she really was saying something relevant. But I do think that mostly she's known for trying to kill Andy Warhol. And it's now making me think about the Charles Manson episode that's coming up. It may even be the last episode, because that's also kind of true, not the same thing, but I know that it's true for Sharon Tate, that there are a lot of people that only know her because she was a victim of the Manson family. She didn't have a very long acting career. I'm gonna go in with the two cheek colors in the palette. A lot of people just know her because she was a victim of the Manson family. They don't know her for being an actress. And again, she didn't have a big career. Two movies that you can really see her in are The Fearless Vampire Killers, which is a Roman Polanski movie. And she was also in Valley of the Dolls. But I'm gonna go in with the bronzer in Film Star Bronze and Glow because I do feel like I'm a little pale. It is fall. And some people use this as a contour. I generally don't. It's a little bit too red for me, but I just want to give myself a little more life. So, going back to BB, and I have a lot of kind of questions about BB, especially from what we see in the end. It was really good to see Frances Conroy. I think we'll be seeing more of her, which is good because I really, really like her. And her character is so interesting. Very curious to see how that character develops and what's happening with her. Let's talk about the end, I guess, for a second, because we are talking about BB right now. I do wonder what her motivation is. I wonder if, I just don't know. I'm trying to think about why she would be involved with Kai. Why she'd be kind of double-crossing these women. And I've been thinking about it, but I can't really think of a reason why she'd be doing that. I'm kind of at a loss. So I am curious about that. I'm gonna speed you through my lips. I'm going to use the Charlotte Tilbury Lip Cheat in Pillow Talk and the Charlotte Tilbury lipstick in Pillow Talk. And then I'll put on some powder and walk you through the rest of my notes. More slim this week. I think last week was a lot more intense with the monologues. And this week it's more just things that happened, but I'll zoom you through this. I'll be right back. Pretty color. I don't do nudes very often. I definitely will be using this one more. And back in with the Charlotte Tilbury Air Blush Flawless Powder. This is really, really nice powder. It's very finely milled. Finally went through my first one. It'll be in my next empties video. All right, so I'll just go through some of the other kind of stray observations that I had. There was a lot that happened in this episode, but there was a lot that I think the Zodiac thing kind of threw me because it's so... Zodiac thing threw me, and so did the BB thing, because I don't know why she would be encouraging these women to advocate for themselves and kind of see the forest for the trees, and then why she'd turn on them the way that she did. And watching that and also the Zodiac thing is weird for a lot of reasons, but just go through kind of the notes that I made. So, and I'll do it, I guess, based on characters, and then I'll go through my final observations in the end. So Kai, and specifically with Kai and Winter, the exchange that they have about the possible names of the group, and the fact that it was Harrison's idea is interesting because it seems really clear that he's trying to motivate them to take care of him. I did notice when Beverly was at the house initially with all of the fascist guys in their chambray and their tan pants and their short militaristic cropped haircuts, I noticed that when Beverly makes a reference about Meadow, Kai says Meadow is a troubled soul. And then he looks at Harrison as he's saying it. So I wonder what's happening there. It does seem clear that no one knows that that shooting happened on purpose, because it's not something that everyone seems to be aware of. It seems like they're blaming Meadow and not celebrating the fact that she literally took a bullet to bring him some fame. Beverly, I really hope that we don't get... really hope that they don't screw around with the Beverly character. I really hope that she's able to maintain some power. I'm afraid for Beverly, but I'm holding out hope that she's going to persevere, because there's definitely not equal power here at all. I think it's interesting that Winter already knew who Valerie Solanas was because of her women's studies course at Vassar. And she also knew who Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday were. They were two of the Zodiac victims in Vallejo. I know a lot about that case because I was born and raised kind of near the area that it happened, and it's just something that I was aware of and interested in because it's unsolved and it's just really, really interesting. But she says that it was Her Baby Einstein. The movie was the David Fincher movie that came out a few years ago. It's a really good movie, but that's Her Baby Einstein. And then I'll just go into some random stray observations. So one of the things that I noticed is when Valerie Solanas is receiving a client in the first scene that we see, there's a big receiving sign, like a goods and services from a truck receiving sign on a building, but I thought that was clever. I appreciated the Harrison and Meadow matching gray cable knit sweaters, and their kind of like portrait studio photograph that they're showing when they're talking about the crime. The lawn jockey at Kai's house. A lot of Adderall too, I'm noticing that. And he says that he finds her manifesto when he was looking in her room for Adderall, in Winter's room for Adderall. A lot of Adderall. And we didn't see anything about Dr. Vincent in this episode, but I'm wondering just about him and prescriptions and what he's prescribing and all of those things. I loved seeing Adina Porter and Dot Jones too in the Valerie Solanas group. The attack on Bruce reminded me of the attack in Coven that they do when all of them are collectively killing the Axeman. Really reminded me of that a lot. I noticed when we were back in the Rose Room that there was a can, maybe even 2 cans of air freshener on the side of the bedside table. I guess it's good to have it there, but And the last thing that I noticed, and this is problematic in terms of the series being connected, it bothers me that they're having Valerie Solanas and her people take credit for the Zodiac murders when the Zodiac killer was at hotel on that night. And yes, he was in a mask. He had his like executioner's kind of mask over him, the one that he was identified in one of the crime scene sketches. He was never photographed. Nobody knows who he is. And I am using the word he. Because a lot of the physical descriptions have also described this person as a lumbering kind of big, although it could have been, Dot Jones is not lumbering, but she's a taller, larger framed woman. But anything that anyone's ever said about this person has made it seem like he was kind of lumbering. But it bothers me that they're attributing it to women, and then he was in the scene in hotel. I think both years he was there. So yeah, that bothers me. That's an inconsistency that I don't like. So very curious to see where this goes. I'm not sure how I feel about this episode. I appreciated Evan Peters looking like Andy Warhol. They got his skin really good too. I have mixed feelings about Lena Dunham. I like a lot of things about her, but there are a lot of things about her that I have problems with. And I'm trying to reconcile both of those, but I think she did a really great job. A lot of trying to separate kind of some of the things about people and the job that they do as actors. It's been a weird week for things like that. And just the whole #MeToo thing. So this week was a little bit different. Sorry if it was weird, but it was kind of an interesting episode. I'm excited to see where things go next week. Dive back more into the other thing too, I think, is it wasn't as much about the characters that we know. And I think that's maybe where we're headed, because we're heading away from maybe this cult. And I understand that we're going to be looking at David Koresh, Jim Jones, and Charles Manson. So I'm not sure if it's always going to be just a departure in the past and tying it back to the present and seeing how those things relate to each other, or if we'll be doing a lot of flashbacks, which is not bad. I just want to feel like it's all connected, and I'm not sure how this is connected. I think I would have felt like it was more connected, again, if the Zodiac thing had not been a part of it, and if we hadn't seen Bibi again in the end, which is still blowing my mind. I still really want to see where that's going and all of that. But I think I would have felt more comfortable with it being consistent and canon with what we've seen so far without those two things. So I like this episode, but I am curious to kind of see how things progress. And I will definitely keep you posted, and we'll do another video like this next week. Thank you so much for watching. A lot to do on YouTube and a lot to do in the world, and I really appreciate that you took some time to spend with me today. Take care, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.